Hello everyone and welcome back to another Touchdowns to Home Runs. I am so glad you're here, and I know that with coronavirus and everything, sports are starting to come back. It looks like we're getting the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB back, but that's not why we're here, because the main sport we want back is football. Not only that, we want college football back, and that's why I am bringing you guys today Big Ten football predictions for this season. Now, we don't know officially if there's going to be a season yet. There's still so much in the air right now about if this season's actually going to happen. But to lock it in that there will be a college football season, even more a Big Ten football season this year, I need you guys to hit that like button right now and hit that subscribe button to lock it in that we will have some Big Ten football right now in this season. So please go do that right now. I'll give you the time. We do not want to miss this opportunity to have some Big Ten football this year. But other than that, I'm excited to show you guys my predictions for who I have coming out of the Big Ten, going into the championship game and everything. I've got the whole standings ranked for you guys. I know my outfit's kind of weird. I'm wearing a Nick Bosa Ohio State shirt and a Penn State hat. I'm a Penn State fan. I like cheering for them. My favorite team's the South Carolina Gamecocks, if you've watched this channel, but I love to support Penn State. And I actually went on a baseball tournament and played in Columbus this year, so I was able to go around Ohio State and everything, and I just picked this shirt up at Dick's. It was on clearance and everything, and I like Nick Bosa, so I was like, why not? Let's pick it up. But now, enough of me talking about all this nonsense about my outfit and everything. We are going to get into my predictions for this Big Ten season. I can't wait to show you guys, so let's get into it. So for those of you who have watched my SEC predictions video, if you haven't, definitely go check that out. Just go click on our channel and find the video that says SEC Predictions 2020. Go watch that because it's in the same style as this one. If you like watching the SEC, you'd love that one. I have the whole standings ranked, but I go from each division in the Big Ten, 7 all the way up to 1. So first I start off with the 2 7s, then I go to the 2 6s, and I go all the way up to the 2 1s. So in that case, we're going to start off with the Big Ten East, and the number 7 team I have for the East is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Quarterback is a huge question for the Scarlet Knights right now. We don't know who's going to be their quarterback. O-line is a weakness right now, which will hurt a lot more in the Big Ten, having such strong defensive lines in the Big Ten. They only scored 159 points in total last year, Rutgers did, which of course in the Big Ten, that is not going to win you games, especially in the Big Ten East. In my opinion, the Big Ten East is the second toughest division in all of college football behind the SEC West. The defense isn't bad, but it's not great, and to be able to win the Big Ten and everything has to be great. From offense to defense, even to special teams, everything has to be sound football because this is an elite conference in college football. Turnovers need to come way more often for the Scarlet Knights to be successful this season. Turnovers need to happen for any team to be successful in their season. You got to get the ball back into the hands of the offense, steal a possession or whatever, and that's just some things that the Scarlet Knights just don't do that they need to start doing to be able to become successful and have a shot at winning this Big Ten East. My number 7 team coming out of the Big Ten West, I have the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern's a struggling program. They have been for a while. They're just coming off a 3-9 season. Peyton Ramsey leads the Wildcats, taking snaps for them, but the wide receiver core that he has isn't all that great for the Wildcats. But something that they have been good at recently is their ground game, especially with Isaiah Bowser. He's showing that he can be a legit running back in the Big Ten West. Patty Fisher leads a Wildcat defense at linebacker with a strong secondary accompanied by him. But Northwestern has a tough first slate of the season. They got Michigan State and Penn State on the road, so that'll be a huge tone setter for the Wildcats. They have to go out, maybe win, maybe steal one of them. I know those are 2 very tough games, but they at least have to put up a decent fight against those 2 teams to show that they are going to be something in the Big Ten this year and maybe move up that standings and hopefully become bowl eligible this year. My number 6 team coming out of the Big Ten East, I have the Maryland Terrapins. Jackson looks to be the starter for this Terrapins offense, but you know who they just got as a transfer? Taulia Tagovailoa, brother of Tua Tagovailoa, of course the 5th overall pick to the Miami Dolphins this year. So if he can play anything like his brother can, that would be so cool to see him snatch the role and see his brother really start to develop as a college football player. The O-line is a huge weakness for the Terps, but the wide receiver core for the Terps is definitely a strength for them, so that's something that they have to use to their advantage because their O-line and their run game isn't that strong, so you got to use what you have to be able to become successful, especially in the Big Ten East. The defense is a huge struggle for the Terps as well. They finished last in the Big Ten in total defense and scoring defense last year. The defensive line struggles to get to the QB, and basically just their defense is something that really needs to pick up for them to be successful in this division, because we all know you've got Justin Fields and like Chris Olave and now Julian Fleming all coming in for Ohio State. That just one offense is terrifying, and you still got Michigan States and Penn States who are both elite offenses and everything. So the Terps defense definitely needs to get better for them to become able in the future years and even this season to become successful in this Big Ten East. My number 6 team coming out of the Big Ten West, I got Illinois. Especially they had a huge upset win last year over Wisconsin. That was one of the biggest upsets of the whole season. So hopefully that they could bring some of that energy that they had that game and in that season back to this one. Ex-Michigan quarterback Brandon Peters comes back to Illinois for another season. Imator Bebe, a transfer from USC, looks to be a huge target for him. 4 of the 5 starters are returning for Illinois, which will be huge for that offense. Linebacker position is a strength for this defense for Illinois, led by Hansen and Effler. But Illinois needs to put up some more shockers like they did in that Wisconsin game, and maybe pull one against like Iowa or Minnesota this season. Some of those big Big Ten West teams, to be able to climb up these standings and show that they are a good team and everything, and hopefully get bowl eligible this year, because we'd all love to see them get back into a bowl game. It's good even if you're not a fan of the team but they're still in your conference. It's good to see teams starting to get bowl eligible in your conference, because it just builds way more credibility for your conference. So to see a team like Illinois get into a bowl would be big for the Big Ten this year. My number 5 team out of the Big Ten East, I got the Indiana Hoosiers. Penix Jr. earned his spot at QB last year. He's a real good quarterback and looks to even improve on that this season. Fillier leads the receiving core for these Hoosiers, putting up an 1,000-yard season last year. The O-line is an issue, especially, I've said it multiple times in this video, if your O-line isn't strong, especially in the Big Ten East, you will have problems. They need that not only just to establish a ground game, but to protect the quarterback, to protect Penix Jr. from getting sacked and everything. The Hoosiers defense is returning 9 starters, which is absolutely huge for any team. If you're able to return guys with experience on a defense, you have that experience already. All these guys are familiar with playing with each other, so that's always a plus for your defense. But the first game is in Madison for the Hoosiers. That's going to be a huge tone setter for this season. They play Wisconsin on the road. If they're able to steal that one, the Hoosiers could definitely go up and shock some more teams this season. But again, that game determines a lot. So the Hoosiers definitely got to show up for that one and prove that they continue to be a good team. I know they had a good season last year, but they got to prove that they're still the team that they are last year, or even better, by putting up a good fight in this game. My number 5 team out of the Big Ten West, I got the Purdue Boilermakers. Their wide receiving core is extremely strong, led by Rondale Moore and David Bell. Rondale Moore is considered one of the top elite wide receivers in this league, but there is a 3-way battle for quarterback this season for Purdue between Plummer, Burden, and O'Connell. We don't know who's going to take that spot. The Boilermakers rushing game was really a struggle last year, finished last place in the Big Ten with a 2.9 average per rush, which is not good, especially in the Big Ten. You got to be able to establish a run game to be able to spread that defense open or get them all close up to the line so you can have more opportunities, especially with this such strong receiving core. You got to get them more opportunities to make some big plays, and the rushing game will do that. So that's something that's definitely got to improve for Purdue. Karlaftis earned freshman All-American honors for the Boilermakers last season, so it looks to put up another big season this year. Corey Trice looks to improve on his big playmaking ability at corner, and Purdue's goal this season is just to get back into a bowl game. they need to, again, just building that credibility for the Big Ten, and even for Purdue themselves. They got to prove that they can be a consistent bowl team to be able to land some more bigger recruits, and overall just keep building on a program that has the potential, if they keep getting big recruits and they keep winning big games, to become a good program. My number 4 team out of the Big Ten East, I got the Michigan State Spartans. QB is still up in the air between Lombardi, Day, and Thorne for the Spartans. Elijah Collins had a decent year last year, almost putting up 1,000 yards, but he really needs to improve to be that main guy on the Spartans and be a real elite running back in the Big Ten to just further that Spartans offense even more. Naylor looks to be the main wide receiver target as the Spartans lose their 3 biggest receiving targets last year. And then Simmons needs to lead this defense that continues to show that they are one of the most elite defenses in college year after year. Michigan State's a team this year who's really looking to be able to pull one of those upsets against Ohio State, Michigan, or Penn State. I think they got Ohio State at home, so that's definitely going to be a game that they have circled on their schedule. But for Michigan State to really get back in that recruiting game and really be able to go back to being a playoff contender, because we all know they made a playoffs a couple of years ago. So to be able to get back to that point, they really got to steal one of these games against one of those big teams so they can show recruits, hey, we can play with the big boys and we can beat the big boys, so you guys should come to Michigan State. But other than that, a bowl game should be very reasonable for Michigan State, and maybe even push it to try to get into a better bowl game. Maybe even if they shock a lot of people, they could get into a New Year's Six bowl. Again, that's a bit of a reach, but who knows, the Spartans team could go out and shock some people, and hopefully this season that they could just put together a decent season, get one of those games that they could win, a shocker, and just put up an overall good season for the Spartans. My number 4 team out of the Big Ten West, I got the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Martinez returns for another season after a very disappointing. He had a very high expectation for last year coming into Nebraska, but he wasn't able to perform. Nebraska wasn't able to pull off some of the big games that they were expected to pull off. I remember seeing them lose to Colorado. That was a big game they lost to. They lost a College Game Day to Ohio State. This team has a very struggling receiving core after losing Spielman to Minnesota. That's something that they got to pick up on, but they got lots of experience on this O-line, and that should be able to provide Robinson with a lot more opportunity to pick up some big rushing yards this season. Depth in defense is definitely an issue for these Cornhuskers. The line is having to replace 4 of the 5 spots on the line, which is never a good thing. You never want to have that little experience on a defensive line, because you guys got to get to the quarterback, especially in the Big Ten. But the Cornhuskers' strength in their defense is in their secondary, led by Dismuke, Bottle, and Taylor Britt. So they really got to use that for their advantage, really protect that passing game well so that they can blitz a lot more. But Nebraska needs to focus on getting a bowl this season. Scott Frost has to get this Nebraska team to a bowl this season. They just got to do it. I have nothing more to say. Nebraska has to get to a bowl game this season. My number 3 team out of the Big Ten East, I got the Michigan Wolverines. This is a team that I'm in a love-hate relationship with, because this is the team that I'm closest to. Being from Toronto, Ann Arbor is the closest big team that I'm to. So Michigan, there's a ton of Michigan fans up here in Canada, and I'm a South Carolina fan, and we play them in the Outback Bowl and all that, so that's kind of a reason why I don't like them. But just that there's so many fans up here, and my friend on this channel, my partner on this channel, Bernie, is a huge Michigan fan. So if you're a Michigan fan, you definitely love this channel, because he puts out some great Michigan content. So definitely go hit that sub button. But so I'm not really a big Michigan fan, but I love going to Ann Arbor. I just played a baseball tournament this year there, and I've been there another time before, and I love Ann Arbor. It's such a fun place to go to. I always have a great time there. So that's kind of my love-hate relationship with Michigan. Also, I'd absolutely love to go to a game at the Big House. But now let's get into how they're going to do this season. Who's going to be their quarterback? Is it going to be McCaffrey or Milton? I'd like it to be McCaffrey, just because I'm a big Christian McCaffrey fan, and I'd love to see his brother get some playing time at Michigan. 4 of the 5 starters left the O-line this season, which is never a good thing. Again, I said it with the D-line of Nebraska. Having that little experience on any line is not good. Haskins and Charbonnet will lead at an electric rushing game for Michigan. I love Charbonnet. He's probably my favorite player on this whole Michigan team. I don't know why. I just like the way he plays, and I love saying his name. I don't know why for me. Charbonnet saying that is a fun thing to say for me. Nico Collins is the best player on this team, probably, or arguably. I think he's the best player on this team, and him coming back was absolutely huge for the Wolverines this season, leading that wide receiver core. Payne Hutchinson have to lead this defense for the Michigan Wolverines, especially in games against Penn State and Ohio State with big offenses that they got to be able to stop. Michigan plays a big game in Washington this year. They get Penn State at home, but they have to play Ohio State in Columbus this year, which is going to be a test. So, Michigan, I don't think that they'll win either the Penn State or the Ohio State game, but it's going to be close games. It's going to be such good games. But I think that those two teams are stronger than Michigan this year, and if I had to bet on it, I would take those two teams over them. But I'm looking for Michigan to get back into a pretty good bowl game. They made it to, I think it was the Camping World Bowl last year against Alabama, so that was a good bowl. But Jim Harbaugh's really got to take the next step and get them back to at least a New Year's Six bowl this year if he wants to prove that Michigan's still that elite program, and they got to beat Ohio State sometime. What has it been? It's been 7 years or something like that, so Harbaugh has to beat Ohio State this season, or at least get close to them to prove that they're close to beating Ohio State. My number 3 team out of the Big Ten West, I got the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that's constantly being in the AP poll, but really hasn't been able just to take that next level to get into the top 10 and be considered a legit playoff contender. Spencer Petras will be Stanley's replacement this season for the Hawkeyes. Smith-Marset will lead this Hawkeye receiving core. An offensive line is something that's always good in Iowa. Even though that they lost Tristan Wirfs this season, they still are able to have a very good and experienced O-line, so that won't be a problem, and that should be a huge help to this run game. Golston looks to take over what Espinoza left off. Obviously, Espinoza left for the NFL this season, but Iowa should be a threat for one of those top spots in the Big Ten West. I have them third, but they could easily be that second team or even that first team just if they're able to come away with big wins over Wisconsin, over Minnesota, teams like that, and maybe steal one against a Big Ten East opponent. Now here comes the one that most of you are going to be wondering about. Who did I put at number 2 and number 1 for the Big Ten East? And for number 2 for the Big Ten East, I'm going with Penn State. Penn State is a really good team. They got a dual threat quarterback in Sean Clifford. The running game will be very good this season with Journey Brown and a very experienced O-line. Wide receiver is a question mark aside from Dotson. They just need someone else to step up and be that reliable guy that they can go to for big plays. Micah Parsons is a very elite player in college football this season, and he's definitely going to be a top 10 pick in my opinion, and he looks to lead this Lions defense to just dominating the Big Ten this year. I can't wait to see him play, an amazing player. Castro, Fields, and Wade all pass up the draft to add more experience to this Lions defense. They have the biggest game of the season at home. It's going to be a whiteout. I'll bet 99% sure that it's going to be a whiteout versus Ohio State. We can't wait for that game. That game is going to be who determines the division. I just put Penn State 2 because I think that Ohio State is playing some of the best football they've had. I'm a big fan of Ryan Day. He's come in and just been able to match Ohio State to that same level that they were at before. They didn't really take any decline. He's actually able to get them back into the playoffs. So I just think that this Ohio State team with Justin Fields is very, very strong and dangerous this year. And if I had to bet on it, I'd put Ohio State. But I want to see Penn State win that game, and I can't wait. That is going to be such a close game. And definitely, in my opinion, I think that that's the second best game of college football this whole season. But it's going to be tough. I'd love to see Penn State come out with it. But again, I do think Ohio State will win it. But who knows? Penn State, I have them coming second in the Big Ten East this year. My number 2 team coming out of the Big Ten West. This is another big one. I have Wisconsin. Jack Cohn is QB1 for these Badgers, but Mertz should get some push for that quarterback spot. Replacing Jonathan Taylor is going to be something that's so hard. Even if you get some big recruits, replacing a guy like Jonathan Taylor is going to be very hard to get up to that level. Wide receiving core is different, but doesn't have any obvious stars. I'd say Danny Davis is probably one of those guys who will come out there and be a big target for the Wisconsin Badgers. Orr and Bond are both gone. Zach Bond is a guy I was a big fan of at Wisconsin last year. A great linebacker, and just guys like that are very hard to replace for this defense. The defense has the experience to be good, but after they lost to the 2 stars, it's going to be very hard to just be at that same level, and especially losing 2 linebackers, that's the leader on your defense. So to have new guys come in at that spot, it's definitely going to be different for these Badgers to get used to. But if they want to be an elite team and if they want a chance at the Big Ten West, they have to do that. They play big games in Michigan and in Iowa. They also play a game at Lambeau versus Notre Dame. Now that game won't necessarily determine the division, but if they want a shot at the playoff, that's a definite must-win game for the Badgers against Notre Dame. But in Michigan, in Iowa, they definitely need to steal at least one of those games to be able to win this Big Ten West division. But I have them coming in at 2 because there's a team that I just think is better and I think is in a win now mode in the Big Ten West, and we're going to be getting to that soon, but not before announcing my number 1 team for the Big Ten East. My number 1 team for the Big Ten East, very easy to predict. I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. In my opinion, they're the best team in college football. I did a college football playoff predictions for who the 4 teams I think are going to go, and Ohio State was number 1 for me. Justin Fields is a Heisman favorite, and I think that he will be able to take it. I think he'll put up a better season than last year, and I think just playing in the Big Ten will give him that advantage over Trevor Lawrence because he's constantly going up against better opponents. They play Oregon this year. They play Michigan. They play Penn State. They play all those big schools, which is definitely bigger than what Clemson's going to be able to put up. So I have Justin Fields as probably my favorite to win the Heisman. The receiving core is absolutely insane. Chris Olave is a guy I've been so high on for the last couple of years. Very underrated player. And then they are just able to bring in 5-star Julian Fleming, an amazing player as well, and I can't wait to see him play for this Buckeyes offense. Very strong O-line for this Buckeyes offense. Master Teague looks to replace JK and put up a decent season for the Buckeyes rushing. Obviously, JK was a great rusher, and he's going to be hard to replace. But Master Teague, a guy who I'm looking at, I don't think that he will put up as good of a season as JK, but I don't expect him to be terrible by any means. He's a good running back, and I feel like he'll be a key part for this Buckeyes offense. Defense obviously took a hit from losing guys like Chase Young, who's a generational talent, same as Okudah, and same as Arnett. Those 3 guys were the big guys that defense lost. But Shaun Wade is another strong player staying for the season, so he'll be huge for the Buckeyes. Many defensive players are ready to take the next step for this Buckeyes defense. And they have road tests in Penn State. I talked about it. That's going to be an amazing game. And they play at Oregon. But I believe that they will win both because I just believe that this Ohio State team led by Ryan Day is just too strong for any of those teams to beat. I think that there will be very close games, especially the Penn State game. I believe that Penn State will play Ohio State much better than Oregon will, but I do believe that Ohio State will come out with both of these games and overall win the Big Ten East and go to the Big Ten championship this year. My number 1 team coming out of the Big Ten West, I have the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Minnesota is coming off one of their best seasons ever, led by PJ Fleck. They hadn't won 10 games since 1904, and they were able to do that last season and capped it off with a bowl victory over Auburn. Tanner Morgan and Rashad Bateman are back. Bateman, in my opinion, is definitely a top 5 receiver in college football. I love Rashad Bateman, an absolutely amazing player. Ibrahim will help out this rushing game for the Golden Gophers. The defense MVP, they lost him last year. Antoine Winfield, an amazing safety, went to the NFL, but they still have Kerr, they still have Howden, and they still have St. Just. This Minnesota team is just very strong, and I believe that they will do very well this season. They get Michigan at home, but they have to play Wisconsin away. But I believe that they will be able to come out with just one of those big games that will be able to flip the conference standings just for Minnesota. If they're able to beat Wisconsin this year, I definitely believe that the Minnesota Golden Gophers will be able to win this division, and I'm so high on them. I'm a huge PJ Fleck fan. I love him. An absolutely amazing coach and what he's been able to do with Minnesota, and I just feel like Minnesota is in such a win now mode. They know what they have, and they know if they want to be able to get a Big Ten championship anytime soon, it has to be this season. So there is that kind of sense of urgency for the Golden Gophers, and that's why I have them coming in at number 1 in the Big Ten West. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, thank you. I hope you guys like my predictions. I hope you guys like these videos. Definitely drop below your opinions on these videos if you want to see me keep doing these, because these videos take me a long time to make. But if you guys keep liking them and everything, I'll keep doing them. I'm thinking of doing the Big Ten next, so definitely stick around for that. Drop below your predictions, anything you'd change about my predictions, and let me know your opinions on the Big Ten this season. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Like the video, comment, and come back next time. And don't forget to subscribe. So, see you next time. Thanks for watching.